What's up guys, it's Tommy here, and after Liverpool have been linked with centre-backs, left-backs, strikers, finally we are linked with a midfielder signing, and that is Ederson, the Atalanta midfielder. Atalanta having a really good season to their standards, and they are in third place in the Serie A. And Atalanta have been, a pretty big club in the Serie A, and one of the most important players for them is Ederson, who is a dynamic box-to-box midfielder in a similar mode to Ryan Gravenberch, and I think Liverpool need a midfield reinforcement, and Liverpool are reviving their interest because we have been scouting and monitoring Ederson for quite some time, and in this video we will take a look at the reports and Ederson's career so far and what he could bring to Liverpool, and we will talk about yesterday's incredible Arsenal demolition of Real Madrid. Arsenal won 3-0 with 2 Declan Rice free kicks, and what amazes me is Declan Rice has never scored a free kick in his life before yesterday's game, but he also only took 12 free kicks in his professional career. So you cannot see a more surprising result than Declan Rice scoring 2 free kick goals after not scoring a free kick goal in his whole career. That is absolutely amazing. But now let's talk about Ederson, and if you enjoy these videos, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here. So as reported by La Gazzetta dello Sport, Liverpool are considering reigniting their interest in the 25-year-old midfielder, who is Brazilian, just like Fabinho and Firmino and Alisson. Liverpool had a big Brazilian contingent not too long ago. So Ederson went to Atalanta from Salernitana for just 22 million euros, and he is a dynamic midfielder who would suit Arne Slot's playing style. He's quite really strong physically as well, and he has played 131 games for Atalanta, scoring 12 goals and getting 4 assists, but his true value lies in how versatile he is. And of course, Liverpool aren't the only club interested in Ederson, because Man United, Juventus, Atletico Madrid are willing to meet Atalanta's 60 million euro valuation, which is just around 50 million pounds. And that price tag reflects both Atalanta's output and also, Ederson's output, and also Atalanta's position, because they are a regular Champions League club now and they are third in the Serie A. But after winning the Europa League last season, this season they failed massively. They went out to a Dutch club in the Champions League. A Belgian club. They got knocked out by Club Bruges from the Champions League. That was a major disappointment for Atalanta. And Atalanta are already preparing to replace him by Tino Anjorin, who is having a good season with Empoli. As the Atalanta newspaper Tutto Atalanta notes, this suggests a pragmatic approach, cashing in on a player with 3 years remaining on his contract. And this reflects Atalanta's valuation of Ederson, because Ederson's valuation went up after having 2 very successful seasons. And now is the right time for Atalanta to sell Ederson, because he's at the peak of his valuation. And also, Ederson has always fancied the Premier League. He said, I like Italy, I'm well adapted, but I'm curious about the Premier League, so I don't know about my future. If I go somewhere else, I will continue to grow, and he would prefer a transfer to the Premier League if he moves away from Italy. Of course, if the deal collapses, Liverpool could pivot back to Martin Zubimendi, but Arsenal are also in talks with Zubimendi to sign him. But until there is official announcement, that transfer is up in the air as well. So this report feels like something significant in the early stages of Liverpool planning their summer transfer window. Signing midfielder is not a top priority. I think that should be a left back, centre back and striker. Those 3 players should be a top priority, and right back as well if Trent Alexander leaves to Real Madrid, which it looks likely it will happen. But a midfielder I think is needed, because Arne Slot doesn't really fancy Endo, Harvey Elliott and even Curtis Jones. So I think Liverpool need a dynamic midfielder like Ederson, just to add more legs and numbers and more rotational options, because Liverpool's midfield got exhausted with very little rotation because Arne Slot doesn't fancy Endo that much. And of course, Liverpool are optimistic about getting Milos Kerkez, who is young, quick and brave, and he could be, a vital part in Arne Slot's rebuild. And Arne Slot's first full summer transfer window could be the one that defines his early years at Anfield. This next transfer window and the signings that Liverpool make could define how successful Liverpool are under Arne Slot, because Arne Slot needs to sign players who suit his playing style, his tactical setup almost perfectly. So I'm really, really excited and really hopeful about the summer transfer window. Dylan Walsh is also reporting that Liverpool are ready to make the first move to sign this relentless workhorse, Ederson. What I didn't mention is that his work rate, his work ethic is second to none, and he's tracked by several clubs. And in the last few years, Ederson established himself as one of the best midfielders in the Serie A. And with Liverpool admitting that they are listening to offers for Harvey Elliott, I don't think we should sell Elliott. I would rather sell Endo and Tyler Morton, players like that, fringe players who don't really play a lot, and bring in Ederson, who could probably allow Arne Slot a greater tactical flexibility, a trait that Arne Slot has been willing to show off whenever possible. And Ederson is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, who excels in numerous different roles. And I think if Liverpool are serious about Ederson, we can easily beat Juventus or Man United, both in terms of the sporting project and in terms of finances. Liverpool are in better position than both of these clubs, especially if Man United don't get Champions League football. Their only chance is winning the Europa League. And Ederson would offer a midfield profile that Arne Slot currently doesn't have at his disposal. So this could be a big transfer in Liverpool's rebuilding process. And another journalist is reporting that Liverpool are ready to knock on the door of Atalanta to sign this world-class talent. I wouldn't call Ederson world-class, but he's a very, very good player with the potential to go to the next level and become world-class if he signs for Liverpool. And yes, Liverpool have right now a fantastic midfield, but it showed, the last month showed that with the lack of rotational options fancied by the manager, of course, Liverpool got exhausted, especially the midfield. Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister haven't been the same in the last month, and that's because Liverpool haven't rotated them enough. And the report says that Liverpool are ready to submit a £51 million offer for Ederson, which Atalanta would happily accept, because that's a lot of money in the Serie A. And Gasperini, their manager, has described Ederson as a world-class talent. Xavi Simons is another midfielder that Liverpool have been linked with, but those links are not that serious. Once they get more serious, then I will cover that story as well. So Ederson played for Corinthians and Fortaleza in the Brazilian league before signing for Salernitana, where he had a pretty good first season as a young, 21-year-old player. Only played 15 games though, and since he went to Atalanta, he has been flourishing. Last season was his best season so far, 7 goals and 1 assist in 53 games. But this season also 42 games, 4 goals, 1 assist, and he hasn't been injury prone. And he has even featured for the Brazil national team as well, playing against Argentina for 6 minutes. Unluckily for Atalanta, they came up against very tough teams recently. After beating Juventus 4-0, they lost to Inter and Lazio, and I think Napoli as well, and they are playing Bologna next. But as you can see, Atalanta are still in a good, strong position to achieve Champions League football, but the race for the Champions League is really, really tight, with just 6 points separating 8th place Fiorentina to 3rd place Atalanta. So anything can still happen. There are still 7 game weeks to go in the Serie A as well. So this race for the Champions League will be fascinating now that Atalanta lost 3 games in a row, and Ederson will play a big part in it. And Atalanta only conceded 30 goals, which means that they have one of their best defenses in the Serie A. Napoli are standing out, but there are a few teams who conceded around 30, 31 goals. And now let's talk about the Arsenal-Real Madrid game, because after a 0-0 halftime, Arsenal absolutely blitzed Real Madrid in the second half, scoring 3 goals, and Real Madrid just completely collapsed and folded. They just couldn't deal with the high pressing and the intensity of Arsenal, and Arsenal created more chances than the 3 goals. They could have even scored more. And yes, the 2 free kicks weren't really chances, but Arsenal fully deserved this 3-0 win. Real Madrid don't look like a team capable of winning the Champions League right now, but stranger things have happened, and there were a few teams who came back in the Champions League knockout stages after losing 3-0 in the first leg. Liverpool did that against Barcelona as well. And Real Madrid absolutely owned this Champions League competition. So if there is another team who can do the comeback from this, it's Real Madrid. But Arsenal were sensational. And it just makes a mockery of all the fans calling this a weak Premier League. Because Man United could win the Europa League or Tottenham. Chelsea could win the Conference League, and Arsenal or Aston Villa even could win the Champions League as well. And Liverpool went out to a world-class Paris Saint-Germain team. So rival fans calling the Premier League a weak league is absolute nonsense. I think the Premier League is stronger than ever. Look at Man City, how much they are struggling. So all the mid-table teams improved massively. And that shows that, Arsenal, who are miles behind Liverpool still in the title race, can beat the reigning European champions, the supposedly best team in Europe, Real Madrid, 3-0. Real Madrid didn't really create much. They had like 1 or 2 chances. All the rest of the chances went to Arsenal. And I just wanted to show you guys how Liverpool did in European football in the last 20 years, because I think our record is absolutely sensational. We won the Champions League twice, we won the UEFA Super Cup twice, we won the Club World Cup once as well. And not only did we win the Champions League twice in the last 20 years, we went to another 3 Champions League finals in 2007, in 2018 and in 2022. It's unlucky that we couldn't win any of those other 3 Champions League finals, and we also went to the Europa League final in 2016 as well. The disappointing thing is, in the last 6 seasons, apart from getting the Champions League final once in 2022, we didn't get past the quarterfinals, and we also got knocked out 3 times in the round of 16 in the Champions League. So Liverpool definitely need to improve on that record. The most important thing is for Liverpool to get regularly to the Champions League knockout stages, because that's where the real big money is. And I think Liverpool still are the best English team in Europe in terms of the history of the competition, but also in terms of recent years. Look at how many Champions League and Europa League finals we played since 2015-2016 season, and that is mainly down to Jurgen Klopp. Hopefully Arne can build a team that can challenge for the Champions League trophy in the next 3 or 4 years. And Fabrizio Romano has advised Liverpool fans to keep an eye on the Luis Diaz situation, because Luis Diaz might be for sale this summer if a good enough offer comes in for him. I told you that Darwin Núñez is expected to go in the summer from Liverpool. He said Luis Diaz is a possibility, not guaranteed. From Saudi Arabia, they were interested in Luis Diaz in January. Luis Diaz decided to stay at Liverpool and focus on Liverpool's season. But now the Saudi clubs are still there for Luis Diaz. The interest is still there. So keep an eye on Luis Diaz, because again, we say it's going to be a busy summer for Liverpool with many things to decide. Luis Diaz will now have to make a decision on what he wants to do in the summer, because from Saudi they will try again. They are interested and they want Luis Diaz. So let's see what the player decides to do. Stay at Liverpool, maybe go to another European club, maybe consider opportunity in Saudi in this case. It's also up to the player now. But it's important to mention that from Saudi they are still there. They are pushing and still waiting to see what Luis Diaz wants to do in the summer transfer window. So I think this situation will be one to follow. I think Liverpool are hesitant to offer Luis Diaz a new contract, because I think we want to see in the summer transfer window what kind of bids will arrive for Luis Diaz. He's not like on the transfer list per se, but Liverpool are considering selling Luis Diaz. If a big enough offer comes in for him, I would sell Luis Diaz for around 60 million pounds because he's 27, 28 years old now. He's having a good season. He had a really good season, probably his best season in Liverpool shirt this season. He has been Liverpool's best attacking player in the last 2 or 3 weeks. As I said, he's 28, and maybe if we could replace him with another younger player worth 50, 60 million, then maybe Liverpool could sell Luis Diaz while his stock is still very high. Diogo Jota is another player that his future is in question, and Team Talk revealed that Liverpool have set an asking price of around 50-55 million euros, which is around 43 to 47 million pounds for Diogo Jota. I think that's fair. I would sell Jota for 40-45 million. It becomes very difficult. If you sell Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota, then you need to sign 2 strikers. That's why I said I would actually keep Diogo Jota and sell Núñez, bring in a new striker, and then maybe sell Luis Diaz and bring in a new left winger, but only if we can keep Mo Salah. If Mo Salah goes, then Liverpool already have to sign 2 attacking players, a striker and a right winger who can replace Mo Salah. Then I would keep all of our other attacking players. The big question is, of course, how many attackers will Liverpool lose in the summer transfer window, because we already have a lot of work to do in other departments. We need a new right back, a new left back, a new centre back. So Liverpool have to be careful not to give themselves too much to do, too many transfers to make in the summer transfer window, because too much change always disrupts a team a lot. It will be very interesting how Liverpool's transfer strategy will evolve in the summer transfer window, but I think we have the right people at the helm. Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards are 2 of the smartest people in the football business, so hopefully they will nail Liverpool's transfers in the summer transfer window. We need to, because we can't afford to lose out on making 50 million pound players and them not working out. Liverpool are not in that financial situation, so it will be very interesting how Liverpool work out the transfer strategy for the summer. I think we are already working behind the scenes, and I will keep you guys posted on that. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.